Hello my friends, this is the Songline of the Ridgeway, episode 4, Walking Britain's Oldest Road. I highly recommend this. It was very good. Elderberry, blueberry, blackcurrant and plum. Hedgerow port. Druid's fluid. Very appropriate. So we've got another 2 hours walk today to a farm shop on the Ridgeway, which is convenient, and then another few hours to Hackpen Hill. That will stop off for the night. Hackpen Hill is a fairy mound, so that should provide some interesting dreams.
Where's my talisman?
And we're off out of the woods. Late start today. He did that on purpose. Nero, stop pissing whenever I film. Nero's off, chasing something. We had a woodpecker this morning, keeping us company for breakfast. A lot of bird life on this walk. We've had buzzards and red kites courting the sun. That was further back along the Ridgeway. That barn owl at the very beginning, at the hinge of the trip. And loads of, what are those things on Dragon Hill, that lapwings? Skylarks, that's it. Beautiful bird song. Blessed with birds. I guess it's because there's just... Oh, this is beautiful.
Well, we're not out of the woods yet.
Except we are. Crossing another road. Back on the Ridgeway. Bit too early for a pint, isn't it?
It's a bit.
In our journey.
As much as I could eat another burger.
If any of you guys are interested in ley lines, what that gentleman we met at Wayland Smithy was talking about, the traditional book on that is called The Old Straight Track. A lot of people throw a lot of shade on that work now and the concept of ley lines, drawing straight lines between sacred sites. But there's a lot to be said for it, in my opinion, particularly for this line, what he was speaking about, the St Michael's line, because the Ridgeway will be going on a southwesterly direction now. All the way down to Land's End, all the way down to the tip of Cornwall, and there's just multiple sites along the way, Avebury being perhaps the main one. I mean, don't really need a compass, really. Can't really get lost on the Ridgeway, it only goes in two directions. More old barns, I love those. Look at all that wiggly tin. Wiggly tin. Look, another sign. It's a Viking ship. But King Alfred was meant to have beaten you guys. What are you doing here, marking the industrial landscape? It's a subtle Danish takeover. byway. Drinking water. Awesome. Thank you, farmer. Trough water for animals, no washing. Well, you smell like an animal. Sorry, that just came out. Oh, that's good.
Naughty.
Hey.
Naughty.
We've just met these guys at the watering hole here. They've been wild camping from Goring, same as us, but they've got some highly evolved form of transportation, which we haven't got. They're also heading to Solstice.
We saw a lady like miles and miles back with a sack truck full of stuff.
Really?
Pulling it, she was going to Avebury like days ago.
Blimey.
Yeah.
I miss the days when you were just, for like the last couple of miles, there would just be vans.
Yeah, they stopped all that.
Yeah.
We have been coming here 20 years.
Oh.
But she's on call, so
Oh. Did you get married at Solstice?
yeah, the day after.
The day after? That's so lovely.
We're getting married next year on Solstice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so this is like our pre-wedding.
The pre-wedding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ideally, we've actually got some earth to take to Silver Hill, because back in the day they used to take a handful of earth and put it on Silver Hill, and then take a handful of earth back to their home, and it was like a blessing for your
Calf on the way, a calf and a campsite
Yeah.
on the way here, but it's not signposted, so you can go straight past it.
Oh, right.
You can get showered and get a full English okay. His great granddad was a blacksmith in the 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. And you used to be able to take your horse to there and leave it overnight, and it would magically get shod.
Yes.
You know that?
Yeah.
It was his granddad, he reckon. He was a drinker, and his brothers used to be blacksmiths. They used to go there.
You're joking.
As a bit of a giggle, they would they would do people. It's great.
So there you go,
When we were walking.
A potential source of the Wayland Smith legend, a trickster blacksmith in the 1930s. Just talking about how all the vans and travellers and things have been banished from the Ridgeway. I kind of quite like the chaotic carnival atmosphere, but less ketamine binges, so positive.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know, people come for a bit of a party, and it is a party, it's a celebration, but like, I don't know, it just feels a bit more heart
Yeah,
Yeah.
than drug fueled, really.
Yeah,
it's a bit
I
more
totally
like-
agree with
I
you.
think nowadays it feels more, there's a lot more ceremony to it.
Yeah.
Well, I think I didn't go when it was carnage, but it does feel like more pagan.
It was
and
really
spiritual.
full on, but it was okay. You know, I was much younger then, so it was all right. But now, I just don't know. All my children are coming now.
Yeah.
You can like really find your own little space of
You
peace.
can,
It doesn't matter
yeah.
like how many people are there.
Because you've got such a big circle that you can find your own space
Yeah.
amongst it all. So
Yeah, it's really nice.
So it was a really nice encounter at the watering hole here with a gentleman that's been making the journey to Avebury for Solstice for 20 years and has seen all the changes. He prefers it now, it's relaxed pagan vibe rather than all the chaotic, drug-addled mess of pagans mixed with travellers, mixed with ravers. I don't know, I thought that had a certain charm to it as well. We got a problem. There's a crack in my water vessel. There it is, leaking out everywhere. This is a good vehicle. Nero, go on your lead, mate. Nero. Excellent living vehicle here. Loving your home, mate. Gorgeous, isn't it? So the gentleman living on the Ridgeway behind me didn't really want me filming him, which is totally fair enough, but we had a nice chat. Just got a living vehicle there that looks like he hasn't moved in a long time, and he's been there a couple of years. Kind of got stuck. Lovely life, it looks like he has there. Little wind turbine on top, basketball hoop, deck chair out the front. Lovely. Quite jealous of that. Do you want to live like that one day, babe?
Yes, I do, thank you.
Good job we got a van then.
Good job it is.
Want to get a boat next?
Yes.
We could just drive Greenie onto the Ridgeway and just live there for a while.
Yeah, well, we could just drive Greenie into the canal and live there for a while.
Nice little lunch spot.
Is that good, my boy?
Good boy. That way. You're a dandy, Nero. There was bad news and good news. The bad news was the pub, the only pub on the Ridgeway, has turned into an Indian restaurant. Make of that what you will. The good news is it opens in a minute. Right, we ready? Bollocks. Let's go.
One more time.
Okay. Last time. Best of three.
Best of three. Yeah,
Let's go.
perfect shot.
Cobra beer. Somewhat
Cheers,
fitting for a Serpent road. So the Ridgeway continues just past that phone box, bisected by this Neolithic causeway before us, with these chariots rolling past. Knights of the road, other hikers on the trail. Right, we're off. Back on the Ridgeway. Get away from this town and this road. Well, it's a collection of houses with an Indian restaurant. What more do you want from a town?
I don't know, shot.
Liddington, this way. Some of these orange way markers everywhere. I don't think they're ritual deposits or votive offerings. For one, they're made of plastic. I think they're probably just a rather boring way marker.
What used to stand for?
Parents get lost?
Yeah.
PGL, Liddington. There's a good piece of folklore about this village. Really want to get back on the Ridgeway now. The section of the Ridgeway which is bisected by the M4 motorway, which has kind of taken the place of the Ridgeway as the main east to west artery of southern England since the Stone Age. So we'll have to get past that contemporary barrier and then we'll be back on the ancient road. I love the way how ancient trackways intersect modern infrastructure, because everything is connected. Chinook helicopter up there in the sky. Look at this artery in the landscape. It really feels like two different worlds colliding. The ancient and the modern, side by side. I guess that's Britain for you, all this history just crammed onto one small island, with motorways and housing estates brushing up against ancient long barrows and henges and castles and whatnot. And you can't pretend those things aren't there. It's part of the story, part of the songline. Pilgrims there on the side of the road. See you there. Signs of war and signs of waste. Finally back on the Ridgeway, nearly. Oldbourne, village of Oldbourne. That's where my granddad maternal grandfather is from and where he's buried. Generations of my ancestors in this part of Wiltshire. Almost feels like being held when you're walking along this landscape. Yeah, there we go. Back on the Ridgeway proper. Just past those lads again. So,
Past us.
so the village of Liddington that we just passed by, crossing the M4, has quite an interesting piece of folklore associated with it. It's quite a common story across Europe, actually, associated with many places. It's called stone soup. I haven't told it on this channel yet, but I will do when I get back from this walk. So I'll put a link in the description. So if you want to learn how to make soup from a stone, then be sure to watch that and join us back again on this walk. And look, here comes this Chinook again, following the Ridgeway for some reason, up to some nefarious war game. There's the M4 all the way over there. We've crossed over that. That's better. Up away from the traffic. Just heard and saw some yellow hammers. That's a type of bird, not a yellow hammer. Up ahead here, this looks like Liddington Castle. So this is another Iron Age hill fort. This, again, like Uffington Castle, would have been a defensive feature on the Ridgeway. I can't think off the top of my head if it did have an earlier role in the Bronze Age. What do you think, Nero? Look at that. A lot of fire down on the valley floor there. We're coming up to Liddington Castle now. Again, you can hear all the skylarks around me. I think you can hear that. Wonderful feature of these long abandoned hill forts. So I said this was a Iron Age hill fort. It actually could be as early as the late Bronze Age. But this one was actually abandoned in, I think, about the 5th century BC, with possible later occupation in the Roman and then Saxon eras, as is quite common with these hill forts. What's really amazing about this hill fort in folklore is that this is, or was thought to be, the site of the Battle of Mount Badon. So I am walking now, possibly on Mount Badon. That is where King Arthur finally defeated the Saxons here in Wiltshire. 2 skylarks just flying off in front of me there. Arthur and Merlin flying into prehistory. I'm not sure there's much archaeological evidence of a battle here. It's interesting how these ancient monuments attach themselves to later mythologies. We had where King Alfred defeated the Danes long before. King Alfred, ironically, an Anglo-Saxon. And here, Liddington Castle, one of the oldest hill forts in Britain, the site where supposedly a much earlier British king, King Arthur, defeated the Anglo Saxons. So just interesting who we pick to be the hero of Britain. At one time it was Arthur fighting the Saxons, later it was the Saxon Alfred fighting the Danes. It's fascinating how history changes and evolves and how folklore springs out of that. So I'm coming up to the castle now. I don't think I was meant to come this way. I shouldn't really have walked through that farmer's crop. I feel a bit bad about that, but it's only me. Well, just like the Saxon hordes assailing the ancient Britons, I'm going to have to assail the ramparts. Originally, of course, again, there would have been a timber palisade wall on the inner bank, and then this ditch, possibly one on the outer bank as well. Double fortification to cross over. Assailed the first defences. Now this next bank. Bollocks. I'm trying to sail it from this direction. It's quite a basic hill fort. You can tell why it's quite an early one. Just the ramparts aren't quite as big as some other hill forts along the Ridgeway. Perhaps that could be to do with its age as well. Stunning view over Wiltshire. I live over there somewhere. Right. I think I did read when I was reading up about this that there is only an east and a west entrance, which means it's a perfect valve along the Ridgeway. I'd have to check that out. Right, I'm going for it. I'm taking the plunge. Ooh, I assailed the nettles. Foot soldiers guarding the ramparts. Right, up we go. Cresting the hill. Imagine the palisades here, slingshots raining down on you as you're ascending the ramparts and up onto the palisade walls. And, oh, everyone's gone, abandoned. Interesting again that the Romans did reoccupy this fort a good 500 years after it was abandoned. So perhaps fitting that the Romano-British king would use it as a fort to fight off the Saxons coming from the east over there. Didn't work out, of course, in the end. The Britons were pushed into Wales and Cornwall, and that's why we all speak English today. Right, I'm going to cross the castle, find the entrance over there and get back to Tamsin, who is sitting waiting for me. I've doubled back on this triangulation point. The stinging nettle legionaries couldn't hold me back. Well, they could hold me back, but now I've gone around the other side. I've done a manoeuvre. Hacha! Ow, stung me. More hogweed here. I think I've had enough hogweed for this trip. There we go. This is as good as it gets. I'm inclined to agree. Look at that view. Perfect vantage point over the surrounding landscape. You can see who's coming over the Ridgeway to the east. You can see everything to the north and the south. And of course, the beautiful southwest. Avebury. That way. That's where we're heading. and Liddington, where we've come from. We've got a way to go yet, but this would have been a great camp. Now, here's the east side entrance. This is where I should have come in. Just imagine when this was a great wooden palisaded gate here, controlling all trade and travel along the Ridgeway. Incredible toll system, really, when you think about it, especially when the valley floor would have been largely impassable at certain times of year. You are controlling the gold, the passage of goods. Right. Interesting fact about King Alfred, the king, self-proclaimed king of the Anglo Saxons. Recent study has suggested that he may have been more Briton than Anglo-Saxon. He certainly played that down to appeal to the Anglo-Saxon elite of his day. But that line went right back to the Britons. I think that was quite a common thing. We think the Anglo-Saxons replaced the Britons. They didn't. It was almost a cultural replacement. Think a bit like how the English language, even today, has cultural dominance, and say the USA has kind of economic hegemony, cultural hegemony across the world in the language of computers and commerce. It's a bit like that with the Anglo-Saxons. All the people of this island were still largely British, but they just adopted Anglo-Saxon ways. It was the cool thing to do. Just changes the past picture of great replacements. We haven't had a great replacement in this country since the end of the Neolithic and the coming of the Bronze Age, the coming of the beaker people with their cups. Look at all this flint up on the field margins. So much of it, look. Bound to find like a bit of cutting skinning tool or something here, if you look hard enough. So much flint. Beautiful up here. Right, so we've had a bit of a detour off the Ridgeway. The sun's going down, we're short on supplies, so I'm doing a bit of a trek to a nearby village to visit a garage. Tam's setting up camp at the base of the Ridgeway that you can see behind me, and tomorrow we're going to make our way back and along to Barrow Castle, where we're going to be met by Harriet, who's going to come and collect the dog because he is going to freak out at Avebury. So yeah, should be good. Freak out. Ooh, hit in the face with a fly. Avebury Castle, up on the ridge there. Tam's setting up camp just in that nook there. So tomorrow, walking back up onto the Ridgeway there and along. There's Liddington Castle, where I just was, not Barrow Castle. I think that's where the garage I'm going to is. Hope it's not on fire. Hello, bud. It's almost full moon. Look at that, nearly full moon. Full moon on a solstice. Can't remember when the last time that was. Beautiful landscape. It's really imposing presence on the landscape. You forget that the Neolithic peoples, the megalith builders, and the temples such as Avebury, they weren't just marking the passage of the sun, but also the moon. And they would have surely had a lunar mythology as well as a solar one, now lost to us. And of course, the passage of the stars and the procession of the equinoxes as well. They would have seen the starscape change. They would have had those stories recorded from their ancestors, maybe even way back in the Mesolithic. They would have known that the shape of the sky was shifting because those alignments weren't there. I wonder what a full moon on a summer solstice meant for them mythologically. Guess we can only imagine now. Heathen. Gotta be, really. Got supplies, beer, wine, pasta. Something for breakfast. See how Tam's got on with that tent. Hello boy, did you miss me? I've got you some presents, babe. Nice tent job, that looks really snug in there. So today we'll get back on the Ridgeway and walk all the way along there to Avebury Castle, the next hill fort. So, my friends, this is the end of the Songline of the Ridgeway, episode 4. Next time, my friends, we will finally be reaching Avebury Henge for summer solstice. And if you want to see that episode, I'll put a link to the video here when I've made it. Or if you want to cycle back a bit and hear some local folklore of the Ridgeway from the village of Liddington, where we've just passed through, then here is stone soup. How to make soup from a stone. See you next time, my friends, for the Songline of the Ridgeway. Let's go to the Ridgeway.